Hey guys, my name's Nick, and welcome to the Adirondack Audible. First of all, I'd just like to thank anyone who's watching this for tuning in. Today's video is going to be my predictions for the 2026 NFL wildcard round, along with what I believe is going to happen this playoffs. You probably have an idea. I feel it in my bones, but we'll get right to it. So thanks again for tuning in.
Right, let's get right into it. So the first game I'm going to be talking about on the bracket I created was the Bills versus Jaguars. I've been a lifelong Bills fan, so you already know I'm picking them to win it all this year. Spoiler alert. But it's going to be a pretty tough game. Honestly, I think this will be the toughest game out of the whole playoffs if we make it to the Super Bowl like I'm expecting. But the Jaguars defense, they get an insane amount of turnovers. So I'm really hoping that the old Josh Allen and Bills offense won't make a reappearance on Sunday at 1 p.m. But the Bills have the more prolific offense, and we have the number one pass defense, and I'm not really too worried about the Jaguars and their running back. I mean, to be honest. So they have Travis Etienne. I don't know how to say that much. He's had 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns this year. So not bad by any means, that's for sure. But he's not scaring me at all. I mean, Josh Allen had half of his rushing yards alone, and then we have James Cook with 1,600. So I really think Josh Allen is going to show the Prince who the king is this weekend. Bills, I believe, are going to win by at least a touch, or at most a touchdown. I believe it's going to be a pretty close game. But yeah, Bills take the win. All right, the second game we have for the AFC wildcard weekend will be the Sunday night game. We have the Los Angeles Chargers going against the New England Patriots. So this one's tough for me, honestly. I really think if the Chargers were healthy, they would definitely wipe the floor with the Patriots. But because they're not, I don't really think it's going to be looking too good for the Chargers. So, spoiler alert, I think the Patriots are going to end up winning, but mostly because the Chargers, they have not been lucky this year at all. So, they're 11 and 6 and they've been doing great, but they're only 20th for points per game compared to the Patriots who are second, and the Patriots score at least 7 points a game more than them. And then the Patriots at the same time are fourth in the league for points against with 18, and then the Chargers are ninth with 20. It's not a big difference, but I believe it's going to be enough. Now, the one thing that makes me iffy is that the Patriots have really only played the Bills for a good team, and at the same time, I don't think they should have won that game. That was pretty lucky, so I'm putting that strength of schedule aside just due to the fact that the Chargers have Joe All out. They have Najee Harris out. They have they have 13 players that are most likely going to be out this week, along with 6 extra that are questionable. It's a lot of players. But then I guess at the same time, Patriots actually have more, but you don't hear about it as much. So regardless, I do think the Chargers are pretty beat up. I have a tough time seeing them get through this round unless Justin Herbert really changes the narrative around him. But yeah, no. Patriots with the win. All right, so now we're going to jump into the Monday night game. So we have the Houston Texans going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one's pretty tough, and honestly, I want to go with my gut, which is the Texans, but what I really want is the Steelers. So besides for that Browns games, I feel like besides for the Browns game, I feel like the Steelers have been on a roll, and getting back DK Metcalf, I think is going to be big for them. I think it's going to be a game changer. So this might really bust my bracket for the playoffs, but I'm taking the Steelers over the Texans. Um, Mostly because I want to see the Texans knocked out before they get to the Bills. I'm a little scared of the Texans, to be honest. Um, they probably have like the #1 defense in the league this year, or the second defense, depending on how you want to rank it. And they're very healthy for a team going into the playoffs. So I'm pretty worried. Um, but yeah, the Steelers aren't too scary of a team. I just think A-Rod is going to pull one final game out of his ass, will the Steelers to a win with DK back, knock the Texans out. I think CJ Stroud, I kind of think he's a phony. He had that rookie year that he went off in, and I just think he's really came back down to earth, and we know the real CJ Stroud. But in the playoffs, all it takes is like one turnover. So the Steelers turn the ball over, it might be it for them. And then also vice versa for the Texans. But Steelers win. Hey, now we're moving on to the NFC side of the bracket. I'll be honest, my expertise with the NFC is not as good as the AFC, of course. I don't watch them every weekend and keep as in tune as with the AFC. But our first game on the slate, at least on my bracket, will be the Rams versus the Panthers. Now, I know these guys faced off earlier in the year and then the Panthers won, but I think we all think that's a fluke. Um, I don't think there's any way that Bryce Young, Rico Dowell, Doddle, or whatever, and the Panthers pull this over Matthew Stafford and the Rams. I just really think the Rams are probably the best team in the NFC. Them are the Seahawks. It's really tough to tell, but Matthew Stafford's on the tear. I think he's going to win MVP, and I think he's going to make the Super Bowl. So spoiler alert right there. So that kind of tells you my bracket, but yeah, I've been a lifelong Stafford fan because I kind of like the Lions. They're my second favorite team. So yeah, I'm rooting for Stafford all the way here. Go Rams. Shout out Pico. Hey, then let's move right into the Green Bay versus Chicago Bears. So I'll go right into it. Bears win. You know, I was gonna pick the Packers earlier in the year, but I don't know. The Jordan Love injury, plus me thinking he's kind of just trash and overrated, along with Micah Parsons' injury. There's really not much you can tell me that will convince me that the Packers are any different than the Packers we've seen in a couple years. Although they're not a bad team, I don't think they're a great team by any means. Now, that might have been different pre-injury to Parsons, and I know Jordan Love's coming back, but yeah, he's a bum. That's for sure. But yeah, Bears are going to take this. I do think it's going to be a close game because it's a divisional rivalry, but home field advantage. Bears in the playoffs for the first time in who knows how long, really. I mean, my whole life they've been pretty mediocre. Um, and I think Ben Johnson is going to have some tricks up his sleeves for us. Um, I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to be able to match Ben Johnson this game. So yeah, Bears take the win. I think it's going to be probably only by 7 points max. Right. And then into the final game on my bracket, we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. What a tough game to pick because the Eagles, while they're 11-6, won their division and just beat the Bills, even though the Bills basically lost that game. I don't have a lot of faith in them. With that being said, I think they're going to beat the 49ers. 49ers should not be ashamed of being knocked out in round one if it happens. They've had a great year with all their injuries. You know, they have a great coach. It's just really impressive how they're just consistently like a 12-win team, you know? It's like every year of my life. They're either in the Super Bowl or making a playoff run or a great team that just faced pretty bad circumstances at the end. I mean, their team is actually half injured. Um, while Brock Purdy has really surprised me in the last couple games, I just think this is going to be like a boring under 20 points scored for both teams. game, and I think the Eagles are gonna squeak one out like they kind of have been doing all year. This one, along with the Steelers game, I'm the least confident in, so we'll see where it goes. And we're about to just jump into a quick little rapid fire through my predictions of what I think the playoffs will look like um, from the start. I'm going to make a new video each week and kind of dive more in depth into the games as the winners like happen, but this is what I'm guessing ahead of time. All right. Now I'm kind of just going to rapid fire through these. I didn't make a graphic, but let's just go from AFC to NFC, and then we're going to go top down. So we got the Broncos versus the Bills. You know, I bet the Broncos and Bo Nix, they're going to be wanting some revenge for last year, but it's not going to happen. The Broncos defense is great, but so is the Bills offense. And then I don't think the Broncos offense is better than the Bills defense, even with all of our flaws. So Bills are going to take that. Moving on to the Patriots versus Pittsburgh. I believe this is the end of Aaron Rodgers' career. I think him and Drake May are going to go at it. It's going to be a pretty good game, but I do think the Patriots are going to pull it out. And then we're going to see A-Rod retire. Tomlin saved his job by winning a playoff game for the first time in a while that I can remember at least. And then that's that. So after that, we got the Bills versus Patriots that I believe will be the AFC Championship game. We're going to be in New England. Who would have ever thought this? I didn't growing up watching Tom Brady spank the Bills my whole life. Um, but yeah, I think the page is going to turn pretty hard on that though, and the Bills are going to come out with a victory over the Patriots in Foxborough to get us to the Super Bowl for the first time since 1993. Almost a decade before I was even alive. Um, but yeah, the Bills will be the AFC conference winners this year. Thank God Mahomes, Lamar, and Joe Cool Burrow are out of the playoffs. If this doesn't happen, McDermott needs to be out of there. We need to retool our team, and then I think we should get Harbaugh or maybe an offensive-minded coach for once to pair with Allen. Um, but it just seems like with all of our defensive investments, they don't seem to pay off. So maybe we just need to go full force offense and see where that takes us. But I don't think that's going to be a need because Sean McDermott's going to bring home the Lombardi with Josh Allen. And then, yeah, let's move on to the NFC side of the bracket. So we got the Rams versus the Seahawks. That was such a great game only a couple of weeks ago, but it seemed to be forgotten, I feel like, because we have a great game every week. And that's what's so awesome about the playoffs. It's going to be a great game every couple hours. Seahawks got really lucky with that, though. First time ever winning an overtime game with a 2-point conversion, which is just crazy to me. Now, they shouldn't have won. So, in turn, we got the Rams winning. Matthew Stafford is stamping his MVP claim, and he's advancing to the championship round, I believe, at least. And then, yeah, we got the Bears versus the Eagles. This one's tough, too. Both 11-6 teams. The Eagles, as the reigning Super Bowl champs, I should be taking them. I should place my faith in them. But I honestly don't really think they're all that. Their defense is great. Their offense not really clicking this year. Now, while I do think the Bears defense isn't really anything too crazy, I just don't think they're going to have the Eagles, they're not going to have a good time against the Bears. Caleb Williams, is going to have his best game in his whole career, I believe, in this divisional round in order to will the Bears over the Eagles in order to bring them to the championship round. Now, that's where this Cinderella story, I think, ends for the Bears. They've made it probably 2 rounds farther than they should have at this point. So, yeah, they're getting wiped the floor with them, with the Rams. I think this is going to be a blowout game. The Rams are going to come out swinging hard, heavy, put up a lot of points on the board. The Bears are just not going to be ready for the moment. They're too young, inexperienced. They'll be back as a wild card team, I think. The Lions are coming back to form next year, let's be honest. But yeah, Rams win. So that brings us to the Super Bowl. We got the Bills versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. Never in my life would I think the Bills would be in the Super Bowl against Matthew Stafford, let alone beat them in the Super Bowl. But that's what I think's going to happen. Of course, it's going to be a nail biter, but the Bills defense plays pretty good, or like our strength, pass defense, is hand in hand with the Rams' strength, which is Puka and Devontae Adams. Now, Puka scares me a lot. He's a beast. He's unstoppable. That game we played last season against the Rams, where they kind of took the number 1 seed away from us, it's not too hard to say that won't be a repeat of this year. But really, I just think Josh Allen, he knows what's at stake. The Bills, they know what's at stake. They're going to will a victory. And I'm sorry, Rams, and I'm sorry, Stafford. You had a great year, but you should retire an MVP and as a Super Bowl loser to the Buffalo Bills. And then, holy shit, my lifelong dream has came true. The Bills are Super Bowl winners. I'll see you at the parade. I'll see you next year in our new stadium. Thank the Lord for a Bills Super Bowl victory. I know it's happening. I'm not jinxing it. Hopefully I don't bite. Hopefully I don't live to regret those words. But thank you guys for tuning into this video. It means a lot to me. I know I've been rambling, but I love the NFL. I love watching sports, and I hope you do too. So thanks for tuning in to the Adirondack Audible.